We've done a lot so far in the sections that we've discussed. We've connected to our data source, pulled in data, transformed and shaped it, modeled it, added calculations to it, and now we're finally ready to create reports. Let's do it. In this section, we will work with visuals to start off and talk a little bit more about some of the visuals that we offer in Power BI. We will then focus in on the report layout and the best practices. We will then go into navigation and filtering and how to work with it here using Power BI reports. And lastly, we will enhance designs with your report elements. First, let's start with working with visuals. Visuals help to tell your compelling story. You might want to use a combination of visuals in your report, such as cards, charts, tables, slicers, and so on. You will see that there are many visuals to choose from in Power BI. It's important to use the right number of visuals on a page, which you should limit to no more than maybe 10 visuals, and then size and position those visuals in the best way to tell your organization's story. The more visuals you add actually might have the opposite effect to what you're trying to achieve. Rather than using multiple visuals, consider providing information in other ways, maybe using a drill-through page and report page tips, tooltips. The placement of your visuals is important too. It's a best practice to place the most important visual in the top left corner of your report, as your report users will most likely read from left to right and top to bottom. The visuals that you add to your report will interact with each other, in that selecting an element in one visual will update other visuals in relation to your selection. Power BI has a variety of visuals that you can use to report on the data in your data model. Visuals allow you to present the important information and insights that you discovered in the data in a compelling and insightful way to tell your organization's story. In Power BI Desktop, each visual is represented by an icon in the visualizations pane. The types of visuals that are available include charts, maps, cards, a table, a matrix, and many more. Start by selecting the fields from the data pane that you want to display on the report. Power BI Desktop then automatically selects a visualization for you, depending on the data type of the fields that you have selected. While the visual is selected, you can change the visualization type by selecting a different visual from the visualizations pane. Note also on this slide that ultimately, after we create this report, we will publish it to a workspace in the Power BI service in Microsoft Fabric, where our users can access it via their phone, tablet, laptop, desktop, and more. It is important that you choose an effective visualization to ensure you display the data in the best way possible. Power BI has over 30 out-of-the-box visuals: tables, matrices, bars and column charts, line and area charts, pies, donuts, and more, tree maps, combo charts, cards, funnels, gauges, and one of my favorite ones is the Q&A. Selecting the right visual is critical in telling a compelling story with the data and helping users to quickly gain insight from the report. When you select the fields that you want to display in the visualization, you can experiment with all the different visualization types to find the one that best suits your needs. If you can't find a visual that meets your needs, you can download other visuals from the Microsoft App Source or import your own custom visuals. In this example, you can see that our story can be told here with a line chart or an area chart. They both show change over time. What would be the most effective way of telling your story here? The user requesting the report or the dashboard may want to use one over the other, or another visualization entirely. There are a few questions that you might want to ask yourself. What are the business requirements that I'm trying to meet with this visualization? What other visuals could be used here? How do all the visuals that I'm adding to this report or dashboard look together? Answers to these questions will help guide your design, layout, and the visuals you select. You may want to have a few versions of the report or dashboard available for stakeholders to select from, and don't forget to include a light and dark background version of each. Consider using a white background for a clean, business-like look and a black background to draw the eye to colorful highlights on the report, or even an image background. This is an art as well as it is a science, and sometimes what I like may not be what the stakeholder wants. I need to be flexible and remember that sometimes beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Consider too that sometimes a simple visual is all you need. The more visuals you use, the slower your report performance is. Consistency is key. Be consistent in your font style, size, color, images, and numeric formats that you choose from. Consider how you want to use color to tell your story, but be mindful of accessibility too. There are a lot of ways to tell your organization's story, and it doesn't have to always be with a line chart or a bar chart. Take a look at some of the options here in this Power BI visual reference. This shows you different ways to tell your story if you're trying to compare numbers or show change over time or to rank your data. There are many different visualizations that you can use. If you need to show a part to a whole, there's a lot of options without having to use the same pie or donut chart. It is also important to remember that whatever visualization you pick, people will need to be able to know what it says at a glance and be able to understand and interpret it correctly. If no one can understand your visual, reconsider it. But that doesn't mean that you should do the same pie, donut, line, and bar chart every time too. In addition to the out-of-the-box visualizations in Power BI Desktop, hundreds of other developers have created a multitude of visuals for you to choose from. If you have a specific visual in mind, you can likely find it in the marketplace. If you can't find it, Power BI makes it possible for you to build your own. The custom visuals that are available in Microsoft App Source are created by Microsoft and Microsoft partners. Some of these custom visuals are certified and some are not. The certified status, signified with the blue seal here, means that the visual meets the Microsoft Power BI team code requirements. The visual is tested to verify that it doesn't access external services or resources and that it follows secure coding patterns and guidelines. The certification process is optional, so an uncertified visual is not necessarily unsafe to use. If you want to create your own custom visual, you can use the Custom Visual Software Development Kit, or SDK, available on GitHub. The custom visual is packaged as a single Power BI visual tool. It's packaged in a PBI viz file that you can import into the Power BI Desktop. Power BI Desktop gives you a variety of options for customizing how your selected visualizations look, such as the colors and the format of the text that they contain. You should take time to explore the options to determine what impact they might have with each visual. Here are some common formatting options listed. You can add a title to your visual, set any color or image as the background for your visual, set a border around your visual to isolate the one visual from another. You can also set the precise size and place for your visual on the canvas. You can set the colors that you want to use for the data values in the visual. Remember to be consistent and to use the same color scheme throughout the report. You can change fonts, size, colors for all labels in the visual. You can even add a customized tooltip that appears when you hover over the visual to add more contextual information and detail a data point on a visual. Your tooltip can be one or more fields or even an entire page from your report that can be used as a tooltip. Conditional formatting in Power BI Desktop allows you to specify customized cell colors, including color gradients based on field values, or represent cell values with data bars or KPI, key performance indicator icons, and more. You might want to use conditional formatting to highlight or differentiate the data that is displayed in your visual. This will allow you and other users to see key data insights at a glance. For example, you could set up conditional formatting for your sales figures. If the sales amount falls below 0, you could display this in red, a color that's associated with danger, so users will see this clearly and know that they need to take action. Conversely, you could set a value for your sales target and then display amounts over that target in green to signify that the target is met and all is going well. You can apply conditional formatting to any text or data field, but the formatting needs to be based on a field that has a numeric, color name, or hex or web URL value. Now let's talk about the report layout and interactions between the visualizations. The page layout of the reports you create in Power BI Desktop will likely depend on the business requirements, the context of the underlying data, and the output requirements. For example, if you are designing a dashboard, you'll need to present high-level information on a single page. If you're designing a report, it is a multi-perspective view into your semantic model with visuals that represent different findings and insights from that semantic model that can be introduced on multiple pages. More on this as we move forward. I think it goes without saying that this isn't a very appealing report or dashboard layout. The example presented here is a badly designed report. What do you see as pros and cons with this report? A lot of people talk about the colors and how the colors may not be the most pleasing to the eye. They note the inconsistencies in the fonts, the currencies, the filters, the slicers, and that they should be on top where people can access them. Others note that there are too many donuts and that the donuts may have too many colors and slices. I don't know if you can go wrong with too many donuts, but others notice that there is a big blue square on the left-hand side and are wondering what that is and why isn't it labeled. It's part of a tree map which shows part to a whole, just like a donut or a pie chart. Some of the pros here that you might note are that we can read all of the labels and numbers. Navigation is available in the upper left-hand corner with that arrow. And there's a filter at the top in the right side called Sort of Sales, where you can filter for online or retail data. Here's a better designed report or dashboard. What are the pros and cons of this report? Many people say that this report is easier to read, that it has consistent colors, and that we have the filtering up in the upper right-hand corner. Some of the cons that people note are that there is still inconsistencies with the currencies up top in the KPIs or Key Performance Indicator cards. They also mention that there are still too many donuts with too many slices, too many bar charts, and too much blue. When designing a report layout, collaborate with stakeholders to understand the requirements for the report, including the format, the data to display, etc. Consider the audience of your report and what they want and need. For example, an executive is usually charged with making plans and decisions that often involve a medium to long-term focus. They may also want to view their high-level summarized information from a dashboard on their phone. By contrast, an information worker who uses organizational data daily to help make decisions or to take actions that are operationally focused on running our day-to-day business may need more detail, and summary information may not help them as much to do their job. However, an analyst who determines the effectiveness of our business strategies needs to be able to improve our processes and implement change. They might need a combination of high-level summary information and extensive detailed visualizations. Consider also the different needs that the end user may have who might have hearing, motor, cognitive, or visual impairment. Create a report that offers an accessible experience and is easy to navigate and understand by keyboard and screen readers. Many of these capabilities are available by default or easy to configure in Power BI. Consider focusing the user's eye to the numbers rather than the text. Make the numbers bigger and easier to see. Consider having clear, readable labels and make certain to color contrast your visualizations, so it's not just shades of blue as an example. Consider how each element will look together to your report users. Oftentimes, simpler is better. Draw a sketch of your report layout before you spend a lot of time physically designing it. It's important to consider that you and the report users might view the reports on different aspect ratios and screen sizes. 10 visuals on a desktop looks great, but 10 visuals on a mobile phone can be challenging. Remember to use the mobile layout in Power BI Desktop or in the Power BI service in the Microsoft Fabric to check out how it looks. Consider a layout with 3 sections. Notice in our slide here we have 3 sections. The top section has smaller visualizations with KPIs, and the middle section has medium-sized visualizations with the donuts. And the bottom section has larger visualizations with the bar charts. You can switch the larger visualizations into the middle section or the middle visualizations to the bottom section to see which looks best. Consider even adding governance for the layout, the structure, the hierarchy, the proportions, the fonts, the colors, the numbers, and the visualizations that are used to make certain your organization's story is consistently told across your reports and dashboards. Now I'll show you some report layout resources that you might find very helpful, one of which is our data gallery from our Microsoft Fabric community that will have a lot of choices for you to look through to get some ideas of how to do the layout for your report. Now there's a lot of resources out there that are part of the Power BI community, now known as the Fabric community, that you can draw from in order to see some of the very good resources that we have out there. And this is one of the options right here. It's part of the community, so it is fabric.microsoft.com inside the Power BI Now Fabric community. And there's an option in there for the Data Stories Gallery. So this list is about 63 pages of designs that you can enlist for help to design your very own page layout. And you might find it very helpful. You can see that there's 63 pages to go through, and each one of these, as you can see, is going to give you the option where you can go in and take a look at what other people in the Power BI Fabric community have created. And some of these you may want to take a little bit of a deeper dive in, simply because they could be very helpful. I know coming up with a report layout design, also working with colors that are on a nice palette that work together, might take a bit of time to do it on your own. So it's worthwhile to take a look at some of the different designs that are out there, some of which are, some which have a lighter background, others have a bunch of images and maybe a darker background. So it's worth taking a look at some of these and at least some of the ideas initially. So this could be very helpful, a lot of good designs out there. I picked a couple of these that I think look really interesting, and you might want to find your own industry feature here, find the industry that you work in, see if you can find it in the list, and you might want to see what other people have done. And here's a good example right here. It's a little credit card customer finance domain analysis. Notice the number of visuals that they have on the dashboard. It's quite a number of them, but you can see too that they have the ability to go in and do filtering, and this might be a little overkill here with maybe the color green, but still it's very readable. It's a nice mixture, nice layout that they've selected. Isn't a bad color either. The colors kind of work together. But this might not be a bad way to do it. You can also create and get an idea for dashboards and reports. Here's one that gives us a little bit of a darker mode. And as you look at that, you can see that there is a different language, but you can also see just the color contrast. And they went really into 4 big visuals here, and they have some KPIs up at the top. But this is very easy to read. And I don't know if you like the color itself that they've chosen, but there's other options, as you know. And then there's other things that you should check out, and one is the FT visuals. This visual vocabulary is actually a really nice option. If maybe you don't know which visualizations to use given what you're trying to do, maybe what you'd like to do is you'd like to do some correlation. Other ways to describe that, maybe you want to work with ranking, and notice you have multiple ways, the lollipop chart and others that you can work with here, the bump map. There's about 10 pages in here. I'm not going to go through all of them, but this gives you another way to display a visualization rather than just using a pie or a donut chart every time. And to show distribution, they're giving you some really nice visualizations here that you can choose from. So I'm hoping that you enjoyed this section a bit. I just wanted to show you some of the resources that were out there, and I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next section. Thank you so much. Organizations use reports to monitor, record performance, and to identify trends and variances. Organizations rely on the information provided by reports when making decisions. Reports drive organizational behavior and action at every level in every aspect. After you've added visuals to your report, you can make further improvements and fine-tune the report before finally sharing it with your report audience. In this section, we'll apply the functions available in Power BI Desktop Report Editor to your visuals to transform your report into a data-driven story. We'll look at designing a more effective report layout and navigation experience and give additional tools to dive deeper into the information presented in your visuals. We'll then publish the report so users can access the information they need to make decisions. Report navigation is the way in which your report users move from one page in your report to the next, move from one visual to another, and go back to where they started. The design of the report navigation is very important because if users cannot easily find their way around your report, they will get frustrated and have a negative experience. You can use a range of buttons and bookmarks when you're designing your report navigation, and you can further enhance this navigation experience with the use of conditional navigation. To design the navigation within your report, consider a new navigation page that you've created and add navigation buttons there. You can use conditional navigation to set the navigation destination based on the output of a measure. Do this to save space in your report. As an example, rather than using multiple navigation buttons, you can use a single button to navigate to different pages based on the user's selection. You can also specify the logical path that your report users should take and determine the order in which users view each page. You could also create a report portal where users can navigate to a set of reports. There are a lot of good options out there. These are just a few. Power BI Desktop provides 3 tools that you can use to edit and configure interactions between the visualizations you add to your report: slicers, filters, and sorting. A slicer is a type of filter that you can add to your report so users can segment the data in the report by a specific value, such as by year or geographical location, or in this case, category name. The slicer narrows the portion of the data set that is shown in the other visualizations in the report. Notice the category name field in the table in the center has been sliced to only show components. When you select the box of an item, Power BI will filter or slice all of the other visualizations on that same report. Slicers are used by your users to filter the report as they need. To apply a slicer, select the slicer icon in the Visualizations pane, as shown on the right, and then in the Data pane, select the fields you want to include in the slicer, or drag them into the slicer visualization. The visualization turns into a list of items or filters. with checkboxes that you can use to segment the data. The processing of filters allows you to remove all of the data you do not need, so you can focus on the data that you do need. You can apply filtering directly using the filters pane or by adding and using a slicer. Slicers and filters are similar. They both let you filter out unnecessary data. You should try out both options to see which one is the best mechanism for your report situation. You might decide to use one option over the other or use a combination of both. The filter is used by the report designer to filter the page and more before the user uses the report. The user then uses the pre-filtered report and can slice or filter more as needed. To apply a filter, drag and drop a field from the Fields or Data pane into the relevant section of the Filters pane. Contrary to filtering, the process of sorting allows you to highlight the important information without removing any of the data. You can sort the data displayed in your visuals so that they can display exactly how you want them to. Sorting helps you to display the most important data in the most logical way, such as in alphabetical or numeric order. For example, if you display products with the highest sales first, you help the end user to see what product is the most popular among your customer base. Similarly, the products with low sales can be discontinued or replaced with new products to increase revenue. To sort a visual, start by selecting the More option and the ellipses button in the upper right corner of the visual. In this slide, we will see the slicer in the Visualizations pane on the right. Then you will see two different types of slicers, a drop-down and a list in the lower left. And finally, a stacked column chart in the center showing sales by country, region, and category. We see that North America is selected in the slicer, so only the United States and Canada show in the chart. You can also sync slicers across all pages in the report or just specific pages. You can have the first page slicer filter for all pages and only be visible on the first page, or you can keep the visibility across the pages and not sync the previous pages, slicers, etc. Use sync slicers on the right. While slicers are very useful, if you want to filter your data in a basic way, you do not need to add slicers to your report. Power BI Desktop has a filters pane that can handle the basic filter operations. Depending on your requirements, you might save time and effort by avoiding the use of slicers and simply using the filter pane instead. This has the added benefit of reducing the total number of visuals on a report, which will improve performance. On the left, we can see the different levels of filters: visual, page, and all pages. In the center, we can see the different types of filtering: basic, advanced, top N, and relative date or time for date-time data types. As a report designer, you can customize the filters pane like add and remove fields in a filter on. As a report designer, you can customize the filters pane like add and remove fields to filter on, change the filter state, format and customize the filters pane, and more. You can also hide the entire filters pane or specific filters that you don't want report consumers to see or use. You are in control of your filters. Now I'll do a demo on navigation and filtering. After we've added visuals to our report, it's time to make further improvements and fine-tune the report before finally sharing it with the report audience. In this section, we'll talk about how to add shapes, buttons, and bookmarks to your reports, along with how to drill through from one visual to another. There are several other report elements in Power BI Desktop to make your report more interesting and interactive and easier for users to navigate. You can use buttons to switch between two visuals in a report, to drill down into the data in your visual, or to move from one page in your report to another. Power BI Desktop provides a range of buttons you can add to your report as illustrated on the right. There are left and right arrows, a way to reset, go back, get info or help, use Q&A, use a bookmark to get back to a previous defined page, and more. There are also many text boxes, buttons, shapes, and images to choose from to enhance your report. Drill Through is another useful feature for report navigation and layout design. This is different than Drill Down, which only goes up and down within a hierarchy. You can use the Drill Through feature to create a page in your report that focuses in on a specific entity, such as a product, category, or region. You can then access this page when you drill through from the related visuals. The page you created that has additional information on your visual. The information that displays on the Drill Through page should be specific to the visual you selected. In this example, the Drill Through has already been configured. Let's step through the user experience before explaining how to set it up. First, we see when we are hovering over the United States large blue column, it says the country, region, category, sales, and a note to right-click to drill through. Now we have right-clicked and selected the Drill Through page, product details. The table visual shows bikes for the header because it was the selected category. Now we have the Drill Through settings with keep all filters on, and the filters from the initial visual category equals bikes, country, region equals United States, and year 2020, which was from a slicer. In this example, you create a drill through for the product category entity. You start by creating a page in your report and name it Product Details. On that page, you add a visual for the entity that you want to provide the drill through for. Then from the Values section of the Visualizations pane, we drag the field Category Name for which you want to enable the drill through into the drill through filters. Power BI Desktop automatically creates a back button visual on the page for you. This button is for navigational purposes, so your report users can get back to the report page after the drill through. When you've finished designing your report, you can publish the report to your Power BI workspace in Microsoft Fabric. When you publish a report, Power BI Desktop packages your report and data, including all the visualizations, queries, and custom measures, and it loads them to the Power BI service in Fabric. To publish your report, select the Publish button on the Home tab. You might also be required to sign in to the Power BI service in Fabric. Next, select your workspace and click OK to publish. When the report is successfully published, you'll get a success message that contains a link to the report in your Power BI site. You can click the URL provided to navigate to the Power BI service and see your new report. Now let me show you how to publish a report and a few more options in publishing and working with the Power BI service. Now I want to talk about publishing a report. And to do that, I'm going to start off in Power BI Desktop, and I'm going to click on Publish ultimately here. But before I do that, I need to make certain that my report is in the state that I want it to be in. Notice that my report has 3 pages, and 1 page is hidden, which I can unhide. It's just a toggle there. But I've been working on it for a while. I've connected to the data sources. I've extracted the data. I scrubbed it up in my Power Query editor. I modeled it in my model view. I went through and I added calculations in DAX. And I spent a lot of time working with the visualizations, figuring out the ones that I wanted to use, and now I'm ready to publish it up. So one of the things I need to do is make certain that I've logged in to Power BI Desktop. And the name that I use here to log into Power BI Desktop should be one who has the ability to publish up to a workspace in the Power BI service in Fabric. So I'd have to have a workspace created that I can publish to, and I'm signed in here so it can find it. So I'm going to click on Publish, and when I do that, it's going to ask me if I want to save it. I'm going to have to save it right now, so I'm going to click that. And then it can apply some changes, and it's a good idea to do that, but right now I'm going to apply them a little bit later. Then what I'm going to do is take a look at all the workspaces that I have out there, and I have a number of them, but the one I want to use is our Power BI workspace. So I'm going to take my Sales Analysis 2, and it's going to take not only the report, but also the model, which would be our semantic model with it, what we have on the model view. So I'm going to hit Select to push this up to our Power BI workspace. And it's going to take a minute to publish it. And it's going to get authenticated using the account that I have here up to that workspace to add it in. And as long as it can do that, it's going to give me this success message that you have right here. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go out to Fabric. And remember, it's our app.fabric.microsoft.com. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on Fabric in the lower left-hand corner here. I'm going to change it out to Power BI. And I'm going to go find that Power BI workspace, which is handily right here, but normally you have to go into Workspaces and then find it somewhere on the list. So there it is right there. There's a diamond next to it, so it is a premium workspace. We're going to talk about workspaces coming up, but I'll go into it. I can access it from here if I'd like. And you should see our Sales Analysis 2 report there and the semantic model. I'm going to click on the report here. When I do that, you can see the report very easily here. There's that overview page, there's the profit page, there's the performance page. Now we had an additional page that was hidden, so if I want to see that, I'm going to have to edit this. And you can see a couple options up at the top here. But I can get a little bit more real estate out of it here, and I should be able to find edit somewhere under the ellipses. So when in doubt, find the ellipses, and usually you might have a lot of options in there that you can choose. One is edit, and when I get into edit, you can see that there is my fourth page, and I can unhide this. I also have very similar options that I had through the Power BI desktop with the data tab, the visualizations, and the filtering. I'm going to go back to our Power BI workspace for a moment. And in the Power BI workspace, we also have the semantic model right here. So this is our data model that we brought forward from publishing up from the Power BI desktop. So those are the two we have here. We can make dashboards from that report, and we'll talk more about that as we move into our next sections. Thank you so much for your time and for your attention. Now you may want to do the lab, design a report in Power BI Desktop. You will design and create a 3-page report by configuring visuals and formatting properties. You will then publish it to the Power BI service and view it. Remember that you have access to the lab steps and the lab files in GitHub. And also, you don't have to complete the previous lab before completing this one. Now it's time for the Create Reports Knowledge Check. Question 1. Is conditional formatting available for all visuals? Answer: no, only table and matrix visuals in Power BI Desktop. Question 2. What is the default interaction between visuals? Answer: all visuals will cross-highlight and slicers filter other visuals. This concludes this section on creating reports here in Power BI. We first talked about how to work with visuals and the different visuals that are available in Power BI. We then focused on the report layout and how the reports interact with one another including best practices. We then went into how to create navigation and filtering in our reports for our users. And then finally, we did a fine-tuning on our reports by enhancing its design and some of our report elements in Power BI. Thank you for attending this session, and I hope to see you in our next one coming up shortly.